All right, welcome in the latest episode of Floor's Yours, an extension of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. This is coming to you on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Thanks for getting us to 11,000 subscribers. You may be listening to this on the 5 on the Floor podcast feed. I recommend if you are subscribing to the YouTube channel, you should subscribe to the podcast feed because we put different content in those two places. So occasionally we double up. We felt this was worth doubling up. Additionally, we will be doing an entire trade deadline frenzy show from 1 to 4 p.m. tomorrow with a cast of characters from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I know Greg will be joining us here a little bit later. Alex will be with me. We'll also have Adam Barai, Royal Shepherd, Alana. I'm not going to try to pronounce Alana's name, so she makes fun of me. Again, Michael Christian, Brady Hawk will all be on the trade deadline frenzy from 1 till at least 4 o'clock or until Royal finally says no mas. This episode is sponsored by Biscayne Bay Brewing. This is actually live, Christian. This is sponsored by Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, also of the Miami Marlins, also with a brew house down the street from the arena. Check out BiscayneBayBrewing.com. The brew house is not open yet, but when it is, you will find us there a lot. We will be doing a lot of stuff once COVID passes and it is safe to go there. As Alex knows, it's not really safe to be in some places in Miami right now, but eventually it will be, and we'll be down the street. Also sponsored by MarkBrownPA.com. This is real estate litigation and transaction law, commercial and residential, with a full-service attorney-owned title company. I'm selling a condo. I reached out to Mark. He made it really easy for me. $295 closing fee on all refinances and purchases when mentioning 5 Reasons. That's right, $295. When mentioning 5 Reasons, they handle evictions for both sides, landlords and tenants. They offer flat fee evictions. The phone number, 954-566-5678, 954-566-5678, or markbrownpa.com. All right, guys, let's get to it. Here's how I want to do this. We have the information guy and we got the analysis guy here, okay? We didn't bring in anybody else tonight. Greg, bring us the latest. You and I have been on sort of a text string with Adam Barai, it feels like, for the last 48 days, not 48 hours. What is the latest that you're hearing? And then I'll bring in Alex for the analysis.
Well, I think independent of the Kyle Lowry pursuit, because that's its own beast and it's its own topic. The news that came about today, and we got it from a couple different directions, was Terrence Ross. And I think that it's just an indication that Miami is looking for guard options that can provide scoring. So, a lot of what we've said that they need, they recognize that. It looks like what they're trying to do is essentially take this poo-poo platter of, Kendrick Nunn, Avery Bradley, and Mo Harkless, and say, what can we get for him, and see where that goes. And it hasn't gone well with Brooklyn, with Dinwiddie, and it won't go well with Orlando, I don't think, either.
And, of course, the Heat have a tradition of going after random scrub Heat killers.
This is true.
Terrence Ross may be more than that, although he turns into Michael Jordan / Steph Curry against them. They did go after Wayne Ellington, and Wayne Ellington is another name that we've talked about. Wayne used to do to the Heat what Terrence has done to the Heat in recent years. All right, before I go to Alex here, I want to clarify one thing here. The report's coming fast and furious today. Please understand that when one of the national guys, when they're not confirming our reports and not crediting us, when one of the national guys comes out and basically says a bunch of teams are offering this or that, they're getting that directly from the team that is trying to create the market. For instance, the Woj tweets today about Houston, which suddenly there's a bunch of teams that want to offer a mid-first round pick for Oladipo. I would be surprised if a mid-first round pick ends up getting traded for Victor Oladipo. So just be careful with what you're looking at. I noticed also the Lakers, that report I think that Woj had about the Lakers being interested in Lowry, I think that comes in late. My understanding is there was an inquiry made, but not now at this point. And our understanding still is it's either stay in Toronto, which we think Kyle has given the go-ahead to leave Toronto, or Miami, or possibly Philadelphia. Those are the teams we're hearing. I don't think at this point there's a mystery team. All right, Alex, let's go to this. If they don't get Lowry or Oladipo, is it even worth making a complimentary move? I mean, in other words, I feel like we're talking about the LaMarcus Aldridges and the Terrence Rosses and the Spencer Dinwiddies, who probably can't even play this year because he's injured. Is it even worth making that kind of move if they don't make the frontline move, if they don't make the Lowry Oladipo move?
That's actually a good question. I haven't thought about it that way. I've actually been kind of interested in these types of moves, as Leif so gracefully called it, the poo-poo platter. move of like the type of guy they can get there. Like if you can get a Dinwiddie for that price, like I just think it's hard to pass up. I know you got to pay him. I know he's hurt for a while, but he's a damn good player. Like I will be interested in doing that, especially if you're doing another trade on top of it, so you could actually get somebody who can contribute for you this year. But I mean, it's a good question that you posed. I suppose it may not be worth it, but I just think if you're not gonna do a Lowry or Depot trade, first of all, oh look, literally right as I'm about to say, Ariel just takes it right out of my mouth. It's burning to the ground. Twitter's gonna burn to the ground, and like it'll just be like it's gonna be ugly, especially for you guys tomorrow if they don't pull off a trade. So we better hope they do. But
yeah,
okay. Listen,
no,
yes, that's right. It shouldn't be ugly for us. We're just reporting what we're hearing. That's all. We try to get two sources on everything. Adam, Greg, and I have completely different sources. We don't really know necessarily who all of our sources are. Okay, we try to confirm things together. When two of us are comfortable with it, we go with it. That's sort of how we do things.
And there's so much stuff that we never ever tweet. The amount of stuff that doesn't get tweeted out, it's unbelievable. Like this is, it's kind of funny to see that they think that like we're putting stuff out there just for fun.
Andrew has a good question here. Andrew's been a longtime follower of 5 Reasons, like from the very, very beginning. So let's answer it. Can they get both Oladipo and Lowry? You and I discussed this with Adam today. We don't think it's actually possible, correct?
No. Okay. It's too much money, too many moving parts. It would have to require Goran Dragic, and I just don't think that that's an option. So like that's basically the stopping point.
Lynette says she's not confident anything will be done. I can tell you what you should do if you need insurance. Go to insurancebylynette.com, particularly if you have a bad driving record. Lynette, I have somebody for you who has a horrible driving record. We'll be reaching out to you. Anyway, let's get back to this other stuff here we're talking about. Lowry's situation. Let's dial it back here a little bit. We talked about 4 things that had to happen here, right? The first thing is he has to want out. It appears that he's willing to leave. Okay, that's our understanding of it. The second thing is Toronto has to find a partner that it's comfortable with. It appears that they have interest in what Miami and perhaps Philadelphia is offering, but of course there's that Hero report that's out there. I don't know what to make of the Hero report because we haven't really heard that Hero is the sticking point. It feels like Toronto's trying to drum up more of a market maybe, but that's never really been on the table.
Yeah. If Hero is included, I will be really surprised. Like that will be so completely against everything that I've heard. Tyler Hero is considered like the player that you wait for and you build around with Bam as he continues to, age. Like he's in the same timeline. So like there's a part of me that just, they're not going to just trade Hero for a rental or an aging player like Lowry. I don't see it. I do not think that Hero will be involved in this trade. Duncan Robinson, that's a different story.
Well, and I'll say this, and then we'll go flip back to Alex again. The same source within 24 hours told me 2 totally different reports about what Miami is actually offering. And that's, again, there's one where Precious was the highlighted piece of the trade. And then the very same person who's a person who's given me good information before and is usually on target, then said Precious is not part of the trade, but Duncan is still part of the trade, but Avery Bradley is part of the trade. And so, again, this is how I don't know if this is people just getting smoke signals from somewhere else or it's third hand, it's telephone game. But I'll put this. I would be stunned if the Heat give up Hero. I would be stunned if Toronto holds out for Hero. Let me ask you this question. And again, thank you, Justin. Let me ask you this question, Alex. Who has the most leverage? I asked this on Twitter today, and people said I should have had an option C, which is Kyle Lowry, which is probably correct. Okay. He has the most leverage. But between Toronto and Miami, and let's throw in Philadelphia, who has the most leverage and who has the least leverage?
Damn, you're hitting me with all types of good questions that I wasn't prepared for today. Listen, I think off the top of my head, if I had to give you one, I'm thinking Lowry, just because it really seems like what happens is up to him. And I know that, at the end of the day, the Raptors are going to be the ones with the decision to trade him or not. And I just think as a result, Lowry has the most leverage, and connected, the Raptors have the most leverage.
Is that fair, Greg? Because to me,
Yeah.
I guess it depends
Doesn't
how
mean they'll get
desperate
Hero,
you think
though.
the Heat are, right? Like
It depends on what Toronto is going for. Like yeah, they if they want to have the most leverage, they can, but like what are they trying to hold out for? And that's the question mark. And like so if they want to be the team with the most leverage, they can definitely be that. But I didn't really think that was the end game here with Kyle Lowry. But Norman Powell, the more that I've been reading and looking at stuff today, that could be a completely different trade with a completely different team that might not involve Miami. So we're really just looking at Lowry, and I don't know. I just I don't know. I think Toronto still has the most leverage because they could do nothing and just extend him.
Well, they could do nothing, but I don't think they're going to extend him. See, that's the thing. Like, to say they have the most leverage implies that they plan to extend him. Can I ask why they would extend him? Why would they extend him?
No,
like, I understand why Miami would extend him. They're in Jimmy Butler's window, right?
I don't believe that they would.
Well, why would they? Their core is basically Bam's age. It's Pascal, who now has a problem with the coach, right? Van Vliet, who they just locked up for a bunch of money, and OG. Isn't that their core? And Boucher. So why would they? I don't understand. Like, Miami extending him makes sense. They're in Jimmy's window.
He's theoretically tradable, I guess.
And I was told again today, thank you, Justin. I appreciate 4 first-round picks. I don't know, maybe just a second-round pick for me, cap filler. But the thing about it is, like, I don't understand. Like, Miami, I get it. Okay, you're literally talking about. It was put to me that this is Jimmy's best friend.
Yeah.
Okay, like. His best friend, other than Goran Dragic in the entire NBA, is Kyle Lowry. So this is not just like somebody that he's friendly with or a passing interest. Like, this is somebody he's wanted.
Yeah.
He has a relationship with him like he has with Dwayne Wade. Okay.
This is like fulfilling promises from meetings.
Exactly. Okay. We'll go get you the guy. And I do know there's been a push. There's been a push from Bam. And so I don't think that Miami is the issue here. I think Miami will do what they have to do. And maybe Toronto is counting on that to say they'll throw in Tyler Hero, but I don't think they need to because I don't know what Toronto's leverage is. Hold him into the summer, lose him for nothing?
Exactly. You're right.
Or pair him with another tiny guard in Van Vliet for the next 4 years?
Philly.
It doesn't make sense. Yes, Alex.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I think they can re-sign him. I'm not saying it's the smartest move for a rebuild, but I just think like that core that you mentioned is already so ahead of schedule that timeline thing. Like, those guys are just good players. Siakam is obviously an all-star. I think Van Vliet is kind of like an all-star talent already, even though maybe he's not right there yet. He didn't make the team. I think he's really good. Boucher OG is already an elite defender. Boucher's a nice player, nice prospect there. Look, they'll just knock him up and try to trade him next year, bro. Like
they may be imploding though. Like, you see this stuff with Siakam and Nick Nurse, and like, you don't know what's going on there and what's real and what's not. And they release statements. So like, I feel like Toronto is really in flux. So it's hard to evaluate which direction that franchise is going. Right. So that's another thing to just keep in mind as all this stuff comes out.
Do we even know Masai is going to be there next year? Every team in the league, other than the Heat and San Antonio, has tried to hire Masai away. Do we even know he's going to be there?
We don't.
Right. So, to me, all of this.
He's going to go join the Wizards.
To him ending up with the Heat. That's right. Free agent Masai. Masai will be the hottest free agent on the market, literally, in 2021, if he goes somewhere else, because he's built that organization basically ground up. Okay.
Someone would go with him to Washington with Beal.
Right. Absolutely. Real possibility, okay? Because they've only given Tommy Shepard a certain amount of time to figure this thing out there, and there's a clock with Beal. So I don't get this thing.
Must be a nice pay upgrade if he goes there.
No, for sure. Let's go to Lamar. Let's go to LaMarcus Aldridge here for a second. Report came out that the Lakers could be involved here. They may be in on Drummond. Also, though, we had talked about Portland. I haven't really heard a lot of buzz about Portland lately. Boston is a mess. They'll get in on a bunch of trades like Aaron Gordon and not actually do anything. But the one report that did come out, I don't know if it was Woj or Shams, was that LaMarcus intends to start wherever he goes. My understanding is the Heat do not have an issue with that.
No.
Right? I mean, they basically promised Mo Harkless considerable time and backed off on that after one game.
Yeah, no, it's essentially this. If you can pass the conditioning test, then you'll start.
Right.
That's it. I mean, no, seriously. Like, I mean, you'll get that. You'll be given the opportunity to start if you can pass the conditioning test.
Can he be any worse? I know there's others. Our friend Johnny over at Heat Beat is not a LaMarcus Aldridge fan. There are others who, I mean, the metrics on him defensively are pretty awful this year. The on-off numbers are pretty awful this year. I don't know that he's playing possum like we thought Blake Griffin was. This may be a real decline. Like,
yep.
He definitely knows how to shape.
Is he necessarily going to be an upgrade? Like,
he might not, but we don't know if Kelly's gone yet, and then like what reinforcements are coming if Kelly is gone. You know, so like you have to see how the whole picture shakes out before you can really evaluate in terms of from my perspective anyway. Because otherwise he's the third guy off the bench, and that's a different story.
A lot of shooters that are possible for the Heat. Obviously, he's one of the worst shooting teams in the league this year. Terrence Ross, we've talked about Ellington last year, a very small contract. Miami still holds him in high regard. He's shooting 42% on nearly 7 attempts per game. LMA best used is back in 5. I agree with Marco about that. It seems like he wants to start. JJ Reddick, though, looks like he's headed for a bye.
As long as in the playoffs, Ariza starts.
All indications are that Reddick ends up in Brooklyn or New York, one of those two teams, because he wants to be up near family. But I heard again today the Heat still have interest there, and he is very close with Jimmy. Again, he's close with Lowry too, by the way. So, I mean, Greg, anything on Reddick? And then I'll go to Alex. I mean, on how useful Reddick can still be at this point.
Listen, I've listened to enough of his podcast, watched enough of his podcast, listened to enough of him talk about the Heat. The Heat are going to be on his radar if he gets bought out. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't care what anybody else says. Yes, Brooklyn will be in the mix, but I think that they can sell him if all of a sudden there's no Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero because of some seismic move that happens. I think that they can, convince him that there's a really prominent role for him.
I mean, is there really a role in Brooklyn, Alex?
No, that's what I mean. Exactly, Ethan. You're hitting Alex with the perfect question.
Really good.
There's the perfect question, Alex. It's my third question to you tonight. Is there a role for him in Brooklyn?
He's a bench player in Brooklyn. There's no doubt about it. Like, Joe Harris is right there, and Joe Harris is in the top of his game right now. He is absolutely an elite shooter. He's a he's a defender. He's younger by a huge gap, and they just paid the hell out of him. So yeah, he will get a nice bench role on a team that looks like it has a really good chance of making the finals. So there's no doubt about that. But like, I hadn't even really considered that point. Like, I think Reddick would definitely be a great Duncan Robinson replacement if you're trading him at the deadline. I think they could run in pretty much the same sets that they're doing with Duncan, and he's been doing that his whole career. And particularly, I brought this up before, he did it a whole lot in Philly with Embiid, and that was like their best offensive weapon that whole time that he was there. Not anything with Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris. And as a result, I think he would be a pretty great cheap option to bring in here as a shooter. I'd be great with Wayne Ellington. I pretty much feel the same way about him as I do Reddick. And, Terrence Ross, again, would be cool, but seems like I don't know if that really is something that would happen. I feel like he could get outbid for him.
Agreed.
Let's go to Lonzo Ball here. This question came in. We all know that there's one person inside the Heat organization that likes Lonzo Ball above everybody else in the Heat organization. It's the one who makes the final decisions. Riley has been enamored with Lonzo since the draft. He actually sort of quietly tried to get up there to make a move for him. Yeah. He's not playing again tonight. That's 2 straight games. He's not playing. It appears that they're done. Stan and Griff are done with him. They're going to move him. Can they get in on him, Greg?
For a long time, I thought that maybe taking on the JJ Reddick contract would help that instead of having to buy him out, like you take on the contract there. But now they're saying you have to take on Steven Adams or Eric Bledsoe, which is a different story. Although I could see scenarios where either of those 2 players could be useful for Miami, but not at the money that they're at. I think it really would kind of hamstring them from being able to do much else.
Greg, who is more useful? It's Adams, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
At this stage, Bledsoe, I don't know.
I don't know.
He's a bulldog defender. for a little while.
But for the right to pay $20 million a year to Alonzo Ball, I don't know. I feel like it's a little pricey.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Maybe. Who would you rather pay $20 million plus? Norm Powell or Lonzo Ball? Alex.
Damn. Another good question, man. You're on a roll. Lonzo.
That's a great question.
It's Lonzo. I mean, look, maybe I wouldn't be feeling the same if he wasn't doing such a good job shooting this season, because he was terrible in the bubble shooting wise. And that's kind of the problem. I mean, as long as he can keep up the rate he's shooting at, I mean, he's taking a lot. So it's not like he's doing it on low volume, and he looks really comfy when he does it. I mean, he's young. He's really good at defense, a good playmaker. He seems like somebody who's going to be a super role player for years to come. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be like much more than that, just because I don't think of him as like a great scorer, but he helps the Heat a lot. Like, I think Lonzo would be a great guard defender to have, another guy who can collapse the floor a little bit and who just makes the right plays. And also he's like 6'6". So I feel pretty good about that. And I think I'm going to say I would rather have Bledsoe than Steven Adams at this point.
Okay.
I think I'd rather have Oladipo than any of those guys, though.
That's true. I mean, well, I know Alex would. All right, let's go here in our final 5 minutes, and we're gonna have a ton more content tomorrow. So we're kind of a little shorter tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless
anything drops.
Each of you give me the mystery player, like not intel that you have, but somebody that we saw Gallinari like last year, like that was late. Kelly Olynyk was not someone who was on the Heat's radar, and then when they signed Gordon Hayward, it was like boom. They didn't get Hayward. Boston got Hayward, and all of a sudden it was Olynyk. I am not sitting on a Vertigear. It is in my office. I will be sitting on it. I would be much more comfortable on the Vertigear. I did assemble it correctly almost, so I've got to work on that. The other two guys are vertigear.com/5RSN. Use our code. Thank you very much. We've seen Gallinari, Olynyk, these kind of guys. They just pop out of the blue, right? Who's that person this year?
Man, that's a good question. I think Doug McDermott is an interesting option out there that I think people should watch for. And if I had to go another direction, I will go with George Hill. I think that's just another really good one.
Yeah, George Hill makes a lot of sense, and we've been bringing that up for a minute. But damn, I said that because I was gonna go with the Pacers as well. Like, it feels like there's been so much like noise about them selling. You know that they're a team that kind of has incentive to sell on some of their players there, and they have some good players. Like I saw that report about Sabonis and Brogdon. Like, I don't them being
imagine Sabonis and Bam.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be a really weird fit. I feel like, but like if you can get McConnell here with McDermott, and what about this Malcolm Brogdon? That's what I wanted to ask you guys about. Like, if he's actually really available, shouldn't they be considering him at around a similar?
You know what? Indiana can't attract free agents, so they would be interested in getting guys that they can re-up and that they have cost-controlled players. So these heroes and Duncan Robinsons, and why are we looking at Ethan Screen? The Indy would be interested in those guys. I'm trying to keep the show going. But
there we go. I'm backwards. How the hell did that, Manny? First thing, okay, and this is going up on the pod feed. First thing, Manny didn't put me back in, and now he's got me backwards. Here we go. There we go. All right, go. Continue. Who are you guys?
We were talking about the Pacers.
Yeah, like Malcolm Brogdon. I feel like they're essentially seeing if they can get a big time offer for him, then I think that they're always willing to come up off of money. They're seeing a lean moment when they probably don't want to have anything near the luxury tax. So if they can sell him and get a good package, and they probably want more picks than Miami has, though, because Indiana always likes to build through the draft, and Miami doesn't really have the picks, but they have the cost control guys if they want Duncan and Hero.
The one thing I did hear about Brogdon today, though, is that they may pull him off the market and that the coach may be in jeopardy. Yeah.
Would you offer the same package? How about this? Would you offer the same package that we're talking about for Lowry, more or less, for an offer built around, let's say, Brogdon and McDermott?
It's interesting. What's McDermott shooting this year?
I mean, I think he can pretty much do most of what Duncan does. Not obviously not that same elite level, but
I would do it.
You know what I'm noticing as I try to turn my thing around here again. There we go. What I'm noticing, Alex, is that I know you're a big Duncan guy, but there are many, many times on the show that you say a guy who can almost do what Duncan does, not at that same level. And you see,
that's what it's about. Like
exactly the conversation. Thank you for that, Christian. That is exactly the conversation that's going on inside the Heat front office right now. That's
correct.
It.
Yeah.
Can we find a guy who can do 80% of what Duncan can do? Because if they can, it's not worth paying Duncan north of $15 million. That's basically the. You understand? Like that's for people who don't know what the kind of the discussion is going on with Duncan. That's what it is.
Yeah, no. So that's where I mean, like any of these packages that are centered around Duncan and that don't include Tyler Hero, I'm in on it. Like let's do it.
Let's finalize this here, guys. Again, thanks to our sponsors, MarkBrownPA.com. Of course, insurance by Lynette. She sponsors the pregame show here, which before floor, which will be on again tomorrow night. We got to actually do 3 hours of streams, and then we got a pregame show, a postgame show, and a postgame pod tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. Everybody's going to be screaming at us if nothing ends up happening.
My gosh.
It's going to be awful. So
get better do something.
But let's finish here. MarkBrownPA.com. Of course, you're looking for estate planning or anything like that. Biscayne Bay Brewing. If you need a beer, which I'm going to need a few of those tomorrow. Let's finish with a prediction. Okay. The most significant acquisition that the Heat make tomorrow, Greg, is?
Oh, Kyle Lowry.
Alex?
I said this on the pod last night. Oladipo. I think they're going to circle back to him if they really keep insisting on this Hero thing. I don't know. It might just be smoke. I'm not saying I 100% believe that, but I'm just sticking with the prediction that I made.
Valley playing Oladipo. And I'm going to go with Alex here. And here's why. I still think they're going to take the Heat's offer, but I think that we have such bad luck that we may have jinxed it. And so I think I'm gonna go with a cycle back to Oladipo thing. I think they are going to end up with one of the two. I absolutely believe that. I think some of what they're putting out there in the space is to let Houston know that we're going to go a different direction if you guys don't make us a more reasonable request, essentially. So I do think they'll end up with one of the two. I do think they'll end up with Aldridge, and I do think they'll end up with an additional shooter, and I do think they're going to clear out a lot of the clutter on this roster, and it's going to be an interesting conference call with Pat Riley on
Ethan manifesting his future.
There you go. We need it for the network. I can't watch another game like last night. All right, follow him at Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo.
That was brutal last night.
Follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. Thanks for all the donations tonight. I will buy better internet. And if you can hire someone to help put together the rest of my chair, I'd appreciate that too. Have a good night.